So the government is set to abandon plans to freeze some disability benefits after a backlash from several loyal Labour MPs. Ministers are looking to cut billions of pounds from the welfare budget, but the policy will now likely be scrapped to avoid potentially large rebellion in the House of Commons. Joining me, former aide to the Chief Secretary to the Treasury, Emirali. Leon, thank you very much for joining me. Really good to talk to you. All right, Leon, can you sort of describe what they were proposing and what exactly you understand is happening?
Sure. Well, there was a proposal to to freeze the PIP benefits, the personal independence payments, which is for people of working age who are on benefits. And the idea was that we're going to freeze it and we were going to therefore save a lot of money for the exchequer. And that was being proposed by Liz Kendall, by Rachel Reeves, sounded to be positive about it too. But there is a backlash within the Labour Party, in particular from those more left-wing MPs, the likes of Ed Miliband, the likes of Rayner in Cabinet, but also backbench MPs who are saying, hang on a minute, we don't want to freeze the PIP payments. We want to keep them where they are, and we want to actually increase them because inflation has increased. So it seems that whatever the government want to do, ultimately they are going to be hamstrung by those Labour MPs who want to put a blocker on it.
And how do we know that those people have rallied against this proposal?
Well, we're hearing it in a number of news outlets. There's a big piece on the front of the Sunday Times today, which talks about those proposals potentially being thwarted. And it tends to be in Westminster, as you know, that by the time the papers get hold of this, it's because it's coming from reliable sources. So it does seem that the government are going to have to water down their proposals some way or another. But, ultimately, we have to look at the economics of this. And the economics are the OBR, the Office of Budget Responsibility, says that the welfare bill in this country is going to reach over 100 billion by 2029. And something needs to be done about that. It isn't sustainable that we can keep paying such a huge welfare bill. People claiming because of mental health issues, people claiming because of issues post-pandemic. And the reality is, not everyone, but there are some who are taking the mick when it comes to the welfare bill. And we need to make sure that those people are rooted out and aren't fleecing the taxpayer. But it seems that the current Labour government aren't going to be up to that job.
Isn't the PIP, though, the PIP payment, isn't that one of the most heavily scrutinised out of all the benefits that people can receive? So there's quite a stringent criteria with which you must reach before you can actually qualify. Yet there are other benefits which they could look into, like people who are able to claim anxiety and then be put off work and then receive all sorts of benefits that they should really be looking into. Am I right in thinking that PIP is actually quite hard to get?
It is, Nana. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one of the harder disability allowances, and it is by and large going to people who need it. I have to make that clear. It is going to people who are unable to work even though they are of working age. So that's certainly the case. But there are some that are taking the mick, and I think the Conservative government wanted to make it harder for people to claim, or for young people to claim mental health issues as part of PIP. That obviously didn't happen because the Conservatives weren't re-elected. And I think that we have to take a big root and branch look at welfare more generally in this country. We spend far too much on welfare, and there has to be a way back for people to get into work, to enable them to contribute to the economy, contribute to society. And I've got a feeling that for a lot of people, and particularly those who say that they're off work because of mental health, if they were to find work, if they were to find purpose, perhaps those mental health issues would improve as well. So I think that there is a lot that we can be doing to ensure people are back in work. And by the way, a lot of the Labour cabinet are saying this. Wes Streeting was saying it this morning. Ultimately, they want that to happen, but they are being held back by those broadly left-wing Labour MPs who just aren't going to let it happen.
Being out of work is very bad for your mental health. So the best thing you could be, if you have some issues in terms of that, is probably getting back to work instead of sitting there sort of ruminating about your situation. How much were they thinking that they might save or get out of making, not freezing by freezing this payment?
I don't have the exact number, Nana, but I would presume a fair amount, because ultimately you are looking at inflation has risen. So if you were to freeze it, you would be able to save a fair amount, potentially in the billions. And I think that Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, is going out there and saying that we need to we need to grow the economy for things to improve in this country, but also have a look at what the government's spending. That should be the first step. We need to have something like Elon Musk is doing in the US, maybe not as stringent, but something along those lines that enables us to look where there is waste in government spending, and the welfare bill is the first place they should be looking, because we are spending far too much on welfare. And it isn't just benefits, it's things like pensions as well, where the taxpayers are effectively forking out, and we need to have a better deal for taxpayers in this country. So I think Rachel Reeves should, yes, grow the economy, but also cut where there's cuts to be made.
Well, they can do it because they have such a large majority. No one's really going to fight them apart from themselves. Very, very briefly, because I'm running out of time. What are your thoughts on VAT on private schools? Do they need to reverse that as well?
Yeah, I think so. I've been listening to your debate between the two panelists, and I do think there is an element of unfairness in here. I think that private schools ultimately are a good thing. They do offer better education, and they do take some of the pressure off of state schools. I went to a state school, and the classes were getting bigger and bigger. The buildings were crumbling, and ultimately, if you're going to be having an influx of kids out of private schools into those state schools, they're going to crumble even more. And I think we have to be honest about that. That we do have a thriving private school sector. Let them thrive. Exactly.
Leon Emirali, really good to talk to you. He's the former aide to the Chief Secretary. Thank you to the Treasury. Brilliant. Really good to talk to him. Right, let's bring in the panel. Lee Harris and also Alex Cairns. Alex, what did you make of that then? Do you think that the Labour government are doing the right thing in not freezing the level of PIP?
It's a difficult one because there's 4 million people at the moment in the UK that are given some sort of disability benefit, and there's a whole range of reasons why they're entitled to that. I think they've got to be really careful because actually, some people really are entitled to that, and yeah, naturally there are going to be some people that abuse the system. There's 6 million people on universal credit. It's costing the UK government around about 300 billion a year. So naturally, they were going to have to make some cuts from somewhere. They cannot rush this though, because there are some people that absolutely need the disability benefit, and that yes, there are some people that are abusing the system.
Did you say 300 billion?
In terms of the whole welfare state that the UK government spends, and actually, it's a tough one because, again, I'm in a fortunate position where I can work fully. Lots of people in my family can, but then, naturally, I know some people that I grew up with that had, disabled cousins, siblings, etc. And that disability benefit is absolutely vital because they will never earn, if they do have a job, they will never earn the sort of salaries that some people that don't have that sort of disability will earn. So there needs to be careful it's not rushed through. But in principle, looking at universal credit, disability benefits, there are some people that abuse the system and they need to be dealt with, yeah.
The problem with a lot of these as well is that you can apply for these online with no face-to-face appointment. So I think this is another one. You can do video calls or over the phone, and if you can't do any of those, then they invite you to a face-to-face assessment, which I think is a bit open to manipulation.
Yeah, see, this is the thing. I fully, obviously support the people who require disability benefits, especially payments like PIP. And I was pleased to hear, Nana, that you say it isn't actually that easy to get some of these. Yeah, it's one of the hardest ones. But there is a lot of abuse in the system. Funnily enough, I know people personally, I know this is anecdotal, but I know people personally who are trying to make up illnesses. Once they run out of one excuse, they're trying to find another one to get signed off from the doctor. There is a colossal amount of abuse in the system, without a doubt. And to be honest, I don't actually blame the people that are doing it. I do a little bit, but I more blame the system, the fact that the system allows them to do this. And there's far too much waste. I mean, the bill for this, I think we spend less on defence than we do the disability payments. I think it's going up to what? It's projected to go up to like 70 billion. Or something, which is huge. It's more than we spend on defence.
It's interesting. I was just reading here how you apply things that you shouldn't say on your PIP assessment. Never say sometimes or often. Instead, use the phrase precise descriptions like 4 days a week or most of the time. The irony is, I mean, obviously Liz Kendall, she and her husband have some massive salary between the two of them, over £700,000. So it does come with a bit of a tinge when you're being told all this stuff.
I was pleased
from somebody who...
Sorry, no, I didn't interrupt you. I was pleased to see that Liz Kendall actually admits there is a lot of abuse in the system. So that's progress. But why are we getting ourselves to this stage? I just do not understand how we've allowed to get it so bad. It's so out of hand.
Well, the Conservatives allowed it to get to that point.
Yeah,
you know?
totally. Yeah.
And actually, you know, this is actually something where the left always get criticised for not doing enough on universal credit and people on benefits. And actually now they're looking at it and they're saying, you know what, we're a new change Labour government. We're going to get rid of the wastage in the system. No, but I think the Tories for a long time didn't do enough on this, you know, and now, good, Labour are looking at it.
Well, I think that their approach is slightly wrong. I wouldn't be attacking Pitt first, to be fair. I'd be looking at other things like net zero. I mean, Ed Miliband, ironically, is one of the people who's arguing that they shouldn't be doing the freeze, yet he wants money, 22 billion for net zero, which I'm struggling with.